your calls. Should Chicago get rid of Shotspotter? All right. Should Chicago get rid of Shotspotter? Says I'm reconnected successfully on the live stream. So hopefully you guys are able to get into the Discord, go to bishoponair.com and sound off live. That's the only way you're going to have your voice heard is if you are live. So let's get into the Discord channel and make it happen. Let's go ahead and line up. Let's see. AJ Romo, going to ask you to speak so that we can hear your thoughts. Should Chicago get rid of the ShotSpotter technology? And that, again, is what we're going to be getting your thoughts on. We've got several people in the chat room. But before we do take a call here, let's go ahead and take a look at the announcement from Chicago earlier this week. They said that the city of Chicago is not going to renew its contract with Sound Thinking that expires tomorrow and will decommission the use of ShotSpotter technology September 22nd. During the interim period, law enforcement and other community safety stakeholders will assess tools and programs that effectively increase both safety and trust and issue recommendations to that effect. In advance of the decommissioning in September, the Chicago Police Department will work to revamp operations within the strategic decision support centers, implement new training, and further develop response models to gun violence, and ultimately reduce shootings and increased accountability. Moving forward, the city of Chicago will deploy its resources on the most effective strategies and tactics proven to accelerate the current downward trend in violent crime. Doing this work in consultation with community violence prevention organizations and law enforcement provides a pathway to a better, stronger, safer Chicago. And also interesting to note here is when Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson was elected, there was a noticeable dip in Sound Thinking, the owner of ShotSpotter, a noticeable dip in their stocks. And then after this announcement came out from the city of Chicago, you had yet again another decline. So interesting to see that. But let's go ahead and get your phone calls. Again, it's real simple. You just go to bishoponair.com and you join the Discord server. We've got people in there. AJ, what's going on? What are your thoughts?
Bishop, how you doing?
Good. Yourself?
I'm all right. Just enjoying morning commute as I tune into your show daily here. But definitely with the ShotSpotter here, it's, if you look at it as a whole, it is an excellent tool that local police departments could be using. Coming from a high crime community that I used to live in, Freeport, which for those of you who don't know, it's west of Rockford. In that particular community, we dealt with street shootings every other day, if not daily. And in a conversation that I had with the police chief over there was, hey, how are we going to help protect the communities? And a tool they initiated was ShotSpotter. So if it's used correctly, within a matter of seconds, they could figure out where exactly these shots are coming from. And it's also coming down to the fact of whether or not some of the police officers want to engage in that. If they turn the ShotSpotter on, they can say, oh, we have shots fired on such and such block. Oh, I'm right around the corner, and I'll be responding to that. It's a great tool. It's definitely helped lots of communities, and really kind of disappointed if Chicago does not renew that contract. We keep talking about how we need to keep Chicago safe. We want to stop the gun violence in Chicago. Well, that is one of the ways to stop the gun violence.
Well, listen, I don't know if it is the only way to stop gun violence. It's definitely a way to be able to track it and to find some of the hot spots in a city where such types of concussive sounds are caught. But I know that others have raised civil libertarian concerns about having microphones all over the place, these types of microphones only being put in certain neighborhoods and the stigma around that. I mean, that's just some of the arguments that there are against using ShotSpotter. Also, some say that ShotSpotter is not effective, that they missed 50 some odd different instances of shootings. But what would be your response to somebody who just laid out some of the rationale for keeping such a system? What's your response to those who say we don't need microphones set up in disadvantaged neighborhoods, the stigma is horrible, and let alone the privacy concerns?
Well, my response to that would be hey, we have an awesome tool here that could that could help deter gun violence. And I know some of the responses to this would be, going after the law-abiding citizens, going after our guns. That's, as I know you've talked so frequently about, that is not the answer here. What is definitely one of the answers is using Shotspotter, or if someone could come up and say, hey, I invented this technology that could help deter gun violence, or I have this particular method that could help deter the gun violence, and so that we could take care of it when it happens. I definitely understand the privacy aspect, because a lot of people out there are even saying that the government is monitoring our phone calls. They are monitoring our chats, our text messages. So I could definitely understand the privacy there. But then again, if I am correct with the information on ShotSpotter, that it specifically goes after the loud concussions.
That's my understanding as well. It's not like a microphone is constantly on to be able to pick up a whisper 15 feet away. It's the microphone's there to be able to be triggered with a sound gate. That's, no pun intended. If there is a loud, not firework, but a firearm, and they specifically have sound signatures, they're able to pick that up and show it. AJ, I appreciate the call. Of course, here with Bishop on Air, kind of a new thing we're doing. Of course, I used to be in terrestrial talk radio. Figured work smarter, not harder. So I started doing this from my home office. As you can see, I built this out, so we're able to do things in a different way, not taking phone calls traditionally where I'd give out a phone number, but instead telling you to go to Discord. Let's hear from Tenebris. He is in the audience in the Discord server. Let's see if he wants to sound off on this. Tenebris, your thoughts. Should Chicago keep or get rid of the ShotSpotter program? It says you're muted, Tenebris. So you might have to make sure you're unmuted. There you go. Now I can hear you.
Yes, I got it. Now I'm good. How are you?
Good. Yourself? Am I pronouncing your name right, by the way?
Yeah, Tenebris Miles. Yeah, it's Latin for the Dark Knight.
Right on. Okay. Your thoughts?
I think they have to keep it, considering that the Chicago police have a homicide clearance rate of around 4%. I think they need every tool at their disposal. The people that want to stop this say that it hasn't really contributed to solving any crimes. But like Romo said, if the cops are in the area and they get an alert that there's been a gunfire somewhere nearby, it certainly would speed response time, which is over an hour on many 911 calls now.
Yeah, so I mean, essentially what you're saying is that there's such a problem with violent acts in parts of Chicago that this is a tool police can use to better pinpoint where some of the hot spots are.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate that, and again, you can sound off on the issue, and we'll see what Warsaw Patriot has to say. Invite him to speak. Always good to hear his thoughts. Warsaw, you're in. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and let's hear your thoughts. Should Chicago keep or get rid of the ShotSpotter technology?
I think Chicago needs to keep its technology. This is a recipe for disaster the moment they get rid of it. I think that crime's going to skyrocket more and more. I think gangs are going to keep thriving and take advantage of common owned citizens out there. I mean, I honestly think this is going to get more scary and scarier times now we're in Illinois. Chicago is not becoming a safer place anymore. And with Johnson in office, he's not making the situation any better. He's not listening to the majority of the people. He's just ignoring them. And there's got stupid people voting for this stuff. That's not going to solve anything.
Well, and I'll just kind of push back a little bit on what you said about at least the certain types of crimes going down. I just pulled up the Chicago police crime statistics, and this is what the people like even Governor J.B. Pritzker point to, showing that murder is down 24% over 4 years. It's down 24% over 4 years. But if you look at other statistics, you've got motor vehicle theft up 170%. in the past 4 years. Theft up 35% in the past 4 years. Robbery up 7% in the past 4 years. Now, if you only go 3 years back, then you're looking at every category of crime is up at least 2 digits, except for murder, which is down 42% in 3 years. But everything else, criminal sexual assault, robbery, aggravated battery, burglary, theft, motor vehicle theft, up substantially over the past 3 years. 65% increase overall in the past 3 years. So, I mean, listen, crime is horrible, however it happens to you. But obviously, with the regular stories of, you know, people using firearms to commit robberies, and then you hear time and again all the stories out of Chicago, day in, day out, of somebody shot and killed. Maybe it's one person, maybe there's 2 people that were shot, that were wounded. But clearly, that's still a major problem in Chicago, which still has higher murder rates than a lot of the other larger communities across the country.
Yeah, but I think the whole issue with Chicago, it's not a policy problem. I think it's a grassroots issue. It's not been solved for decades, and we just haven't solved it, Greg. Like, look at this comparison, like in England. They have so much violence with firearms, but they actually made a policy where they cannot be having any gun ownership there. But the mass stabbings with knives is just skyrocketing, and they've already have a ban over there, and it hasn't solved anything. So the more policies they keep enacting, they're not really solving the root issue of the problems.
No, I appreciate the call from Warsaw, and we'll see if we can get Chubby Guy Customs Garage in to speak here as well. And listen, I mean, you hear a lot, and even in the conversation about the recent shooting in Kansas City around the Super Bowl victory parade that they had yesterday. You know, the chatter on social media is, it's the guns, it's the guns, it's the guns, while those who support the Second Amendment are like, it's not the guns, it's evil intent. And if you really look at what's being reported out of that mass shooting in Missouri, it sounds more and more like it was some kind of heated gang type of thing. And again, that's not the gun. There's 400 million firearms in this country, and you've got a very small fraction of that where violence is committed with a firearm. So, you know, is it really the guns, or is it the intent behind somebody's actions? So I think that's an interesting debate we'll hear more about. All right, Chubby Guy, thanks for checking in. Let's hear your thoughts.
Hey, good morning, Greg. You got me?
I got you loud and clear, man.
Good morning, Greg. First off, thanks for everything you do, brother. We really appreciate it. Long-time listener, obviously first-time caller.
Right on, yeah.
You know, I still work in law enforcement, and I run a gun shop full-time, and I tell you what, man, I hear all the craziness that's going on in this world. And to speak on what you're talking about with the Kansas City parade thing, you know, yeah, I tell people all the time, I can take a loaded gun out, set it on the counter. Not that I would, because it's unsafe, but I could. And that gun's not going to do anything until somebody picks it up. It's all about ill intentions. It's not the item. You ban guns, people use hammers and screwdrivers. I'll get off my soapbox on that. Shotspotter, that, you know, you got to have the right manning of people. And across the United States, law enforcement is hurting for people, plain and simple. Most departments are at a loss. Nobody wants to be a cop anymore because, you know, they're in fear of losing their job or getting in trouble themselves because the way the world's going.
Well, you look at places like Florida, they're offering up, $5,000 bonus. Places in Alaska offering up $40,000 bonus. And they're recruiting people from places like Chicago.
And that's exactly it, because people are, you know, it's all about the almighty dollar, right? But, you know, and then you look at crime, right? Usually the places with the highest amount of gun control have the highest amount of crime. People need to be able to defend themselves, period. Criminals are not going to obey the law. They're going to still be able to get these guns. No matter what Pritzker forces down Illinoisans' throats, it's not going to stop criminals from obtaining firearms, plain and simple. You know, we go through training, you know, for with the ATF to sniff out straw purchases, to where if a gang member is on paper, they can't obtain a firearm themselves, they're a convicted felon or they're on parole or whatever the case is, they'll send their girlfriend that's not a criminal or their little brother or their homeboy in that's not in trouble yet.
Right.
And we as FFLs and gun shop clerks have to try to sniff that out, and it's huge.
Yeah. That's tough. Well, Chubby Guy, appreciate you chiming in. I'm going to get one last call here before I got to wrap things up. Is this Ratio? Is that how you pronounce that? He's got his hand raised, or she's got her hand raised. Didn't mean to misgender you. Don't know. There's not a picture associated with this. So, Ratio, go ahead. It says you're muted. And did I pronounce that correctly? Good morning.
Hey Bishop, don't misgender me. I have a big trigger problem, so I
Right
don't
on.
want to go off. But listen, um, it's good. It's good to tell you that you're doing a great job. I love this Discord thing. I think it's a great idea. But listen, I want to talk about two things real quick. Just one, if that's what we got time for. The funny thing is, I was driving around Chicago, and I drive around Chicago a lot. Last year, 30,000 miles. So I see my share of things. And of course, lately, every semi major and, of course, major intersections has got people there, right? It's got what would look like what would be the Chicago homeless, which are usually white or black. You got all these Central and South Americans now, and they got their children with them. Usually it's like, it's the child is either sitting on the curb somewhere, or they got him in like a little bag. My theory, and this is nobody's theory but mine, those children are for sale,
Mm.
just like they were back in their original countries. But anyway,
Well, there's definitely a
not
huge concern with child trafficking and human trafficking in general, with but potentially tens of millions of people that have come across the border. How many of them are victims of human trafficking? I think that's a substantial, legitimate concern. Anyways, Ratio, tell me your thoughts about Shotspotter, and then I got to wrap things up.
I don't have any thoughts about Shotspotter. It's just Chicago politics. You're probably, better off. I know it's your bread and butter, but I think better to just not think about things like that. But listen, Bishop, thanks for having me on air, and you have a good rest of your day.
You too. Appreciate that. Yeah, it is Bishop on air. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Appreciate you guys being here each and every weekday morning, and from time to time we will open it up for the Discord channel for you guys to sound off. A lot of comments about Shotspotter on the live chat on YouTube. People saying that they should get rid of it, others saying it doesn't work, others saying that it does work. So keep the conversation going. We'll be back at it tomorrow, and we'll see if we can open up some more Discord conversations for us here with Bishop on air. Appreciate you guys being here each and every weekday morning, and have yourselves a wonderful rest of the day.